Hi,
How are you guys?
I'm fine. Thank you. Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year.
Hi, good evening to all of you. People like Jackie from the US, good morning to you, and others, good day, whatever the time of the day or evening that you are in now. Um, yeah, it's just about 9 o'clock in India, just passed. Today, starting 2019 in a sense, we will have 3 more sessions on this particular subject. Coaching and spirituality, which has led us into several areas over the last, I think, about 6 odd months. From April, I would like to give this a break and start on systemic coaching, which is probably a lot more application oriented in terms of corporate executive coaching. And I would like to spend some time on that. But from time to time, if people do want to get back into certain aspects of what we had discussed during this coaching and spirituality or spirituality in coaching, you're most welcome. Let me know, and we will do that. Most of you know, I think some of you probably have received the mailer that we are planning a retreat at this place called Tiruvannamalai in February 22nd to 25th, which is in a sense an experiential an experiential awareness of what we talked about during these sessions. And it's for 3 days and 3 nights and 4 days. And today I'd like to cover one part of it, which perhaps is the most important part of it. The limitation is going to be that it's an extremely experiential process, so it's not something that I would be able to really be able to take you through as a process. It's something that requires group energy. It's something similar to lab work, those of you who are familiar with lab work, but it's far more internal. It's meditative, reflective, some amount of group sharing, and so on and so forth. And it's tailored in some senses to the individuals in that group. So it's a limited group. And those of you who are interested, we still just have about 3 or 4 people. We need about 10 to 12 if we need to conduct this program. So anyhow, that's one part of it, but I'll take you through one aspect of it, which I'll go into some detail. Now, those of you who would like to be on the panel, as it were, if you have any background in this, let me explain a little bit about what we are going to talk about. I sent you a mail yesterday. Some of you might have received it. Some of you may not have. There are 3 things that I would like to address today. For the first about roughly 20, 25 minutes, I would like to talk about the effect of conditioning and how it influences us and how it creates the limiting beliefs that we have, which is what we as coaches especially in coaching mastery, we are trained to work with. However, the way of approaching it, the way that I'm going to present that is something quite different from the coaching modality. It's approach through what is called Tantra in the Hindu spirituality lexicon, through what is called the chakras or the energy centers in the body, and how they are relevant to this whole exercise in conditioning and deconditioning. After that, I would like to briefly take you through some of the processes that I plan to work with at the retreat with some of the people, which in a brief way, I can do that in the next 2 sessions in February and March as well, but it'll be limited. And finally, for those of you who are interested, in the last about roughly half an hour, starting from about 9:45 to 10:15, I'll take you through a meditation process. At the end of which, I would just like to leave you at the end of that meditation. Typically, any of these meditations should not be followed with any kind of discussion. It's counterproductive, and it renders the entire experience of the meditation useless when we start talking about experiences and so on and so forth. So please bear with me. If there are any discussions, we can always have it in the next session. And you can also write in and tell me if you have had any experiences you want to have, any explanations for those experiences. Let me start with the beginning part of it, the conditioning. And each one of us has a different understanding of what conditioning is about. And I would like some of you to come up and on the panel, please put up your hands. I'll invite you into the panel. If you look at, let's say, for example, the Freudian Jungian basics, it's about experiences that we have had which leave us, let's say, similar to that iceberg model where deep memories in the unconscious. And in the Freudian sense, it's very, very negative. It's about base feelings of maybe sex, violence, guilt, etc. The deeper they are, the more traumatic they are. Jung looked at it in a slightly different way. He said there is a part of the unconscious which is very powerful, which is positive. And then he worked on this concept of the collective unconscious. In the Hindu philosophy, there's a parallel. I wouldn't say it's exactly the same. There are differences. It's a collective consciousness that Jung talked about slightly differently in a very much positive way. There are no shadows out here, unlike in the Jungian hypothesis. However, in the tantric principle of what is called the chakras, which are the energy centers in the body, there are 7 centers, actually 6, and the 7th is a gateway. And these 7 centers are the repositories of unconscious memories. And please stop me. I really would like to, Ramcharan told me last time that, and I also realized it, that I was speaking the most, the whole session, and it really doesn't help very much. Either it means that you have no questions, which is perhaps also it means that you have no understanding what I'm talking about, or that you're so confused that you really don't know what to ask. Let me try and simplify it as much as possible. There are various models of people who have presented things like canvas of emotions and so on and so forth. A lot of it is borrowed from this basic tantric philosophy of chakras. Fundamentally, we have really 2 primal emotions. All our emotions arise from just 2 emotions. One is desire and the other is fear. These are mirror images. You could call the desire as greed, if you wish, and the other is, as a result of the greed, you have various other counter emotions that come up within you. It could be guilt, it could be shame, it could be fear. Am I going to achieve what I desire? And so on and so forth. So in the Debrata Banerjee, okay, sure. I'll add you to allow to talk. No, sorry. Okay. When at a point in time when you have a specific question, please unmute yourself and ask me. The chakras hierarchy, as it were, the lowest doesn't mean it is low in any other sense except for the fact that in the human anatomy, it is at the lowest point of the spine. The chakras are along the spine. And the tantric philosophy is there is a very powerful, invisible, virtual pathway called the Sushumna, which runs through the spine. It could be vaguely interpreted as some kind of a nerve, but it's not. It's an energy pathway. And the starting point of that, at the lowest point of the spine, which is almost at the perineum point, where the legs meet the trunk of the body, as it were, is the root chakra or the Muladhara. This Muladhara is supposed to be the repository of the inner energy of each one of us. That's called Kundalini. And there are multiple theories about what it is. In fact, those of you who would like to look at a westernized version of that should read Carl Jung, who wrote a book called, or delivered a set of lectures, which were later put together as a book. I think it's published by one of the major universities in the United States. It's called Kundalini, the Science of Psychology of Yoga. It's an amazing book. For someone who spent a very, very brief period in studying that, he has interpreted the entire Tantric scriptures relating to chakras. And it's a, in my opinion, it's a very erudite book, very scholarly book. The Muladhara is the center of our energy. And the Muladhara essentially represents the power of our desires. And each of the chakras has a positive and a negative side to it, a dark side and a bright side, as it were. And the chakras, can you mute yourself, Devrata, please? In the chakras, the Sanskrit word chakra means a wheel. In a sense, when you really get an experiential state of awareness of these chakras, you can actually feel them small and big, depending upon whether they are energized or not energized. If they are not energized, you may hardly notice them, but when they are energized, they can be seen as something very, very big. The shadow side of the chakras make them weak. They make them small. Whereas the bright side of it, the chakras are large. They are virtual. It's very difficult to say they are at a particular point within the body. It's within what is called the pranic body, which is the energy body of the human system. It's not necessarily the physical body. When you look at desires, if you look at the time when you are actually born as a baby, probably the only desire that you have is to live, to breathe. And the baby cries because the baby wants to breathe. It's unable to breathe. And if it has any pain, it cries. All that it requires is sustenance. It's, in a sense, at the lowest level of the Maslow's hierarchy, the survival needs. As we grow, as we get conditioned, we start looking at others in the universe around us, the world around us, and we start looking at what they have and their experiences, what they enjoy, what they seem to have, become our desires. So instead of a basic need that you have in order for you to live and fulfill yourself, now you have what is called a want, which is not your own need, which is borrowed from perhaps the needs of other people. And Ramana Maharshi, one of the greatest saints that I believe lived on earth in recent times, once said, this universe has all it takes to provide for the needs of every single one of the billions of people live here. but it doesn't have what it takes to fulfill the wants of just one person. It cannot fulfill the greed of just one person, whereas it can fulfill the needs of everybody. So essentially, the Mooladhara is about this complex interaction between needs and wants. As long as we are looking at needs, we are just looking at ourselves. We are looking at a very simple expression of perhaps the innocence, the divinity, or whatever that we possess. The moment we start looking at the wants, it becomes selfish. We borrow the needs of other people, but we convert it into our own wants. As a result, we negate what other people can have. Like one of the people I worked with used to say, if my neighbor buys an air conditioner, suddenly my home becomes very hot. And that's what happens to all of us. If you start with, let's say, a two-wheeler, like most people do in India, and you see someone else who you know is driving a car, your immediate desire, the want is to have a car. And once you get a car, if someone else is driving a fancier car, a more expensive one, a Mercedes, and so if you're a Toyota, you want a Mercedes. And then you want a Jaguar, or whatever it is. It keeps on. The greed never stops. The more you have, the more you want to have. So when you have that kind of a system, when you have that kind of a conditioning in us, it very often results in the mirror emotion, which is about fear. And the fear is the next chakra, one level just above the Mooladhara. It's called the Swadhisthana, which is based on the spleen area, somewhere around the groin area, the lower abdomen area. And the fear is about, what if we don't get what we want? It's not about the need. The universe always provides for our needs, which we don't even recognize. But we want something desperately. We are obsessed about it because somebody else has it and we also must have it. It's almost like a child wanting somebody else's toy. And if you don't have it, what is the opportunity loss that we have? What is the fear that we have? And very often the greatest fear that we have is one about almost the unknown. What's going to happen if we are no longer here? What will happen if we die? It's not the death per se which frightens us, but the fear of the uncertainty beyond death which frightens us. And which is why the most fearful thought, or what is the greatest fear after death, is supposed to be public speaking. The commonality between the two is the loss of ego. In one, after death, what we are afraid of is our inability to identify ourselves, and the same is true of public speaking, that we are afraid that we might be put down, that we may not be as successful as we would like to believe we are. So there's a connection here. So in the chakra hierarchy, when we look at conditioning, we first look at these two: desires in the form of wants, and then fears, which either arise out of those desires or even the fact that we may not get what we desire. For example, there are many people who believe that meditation is about being without thoughts. It is totally untrue. The basic definition of meditation in Patanjali's Yoga Sutra is about focusing on one thought. And this for the simple reason that you cannot exist without having thoughts. As long as you are in this mind and body, you always have a thought. Your next breath, the inhalation following the exhalation, is the thought of a desire that you wish to live. And therefore, every single thought, as long as you live, there will be a thought in you. And that thought is about your survival. And the fear is that I'm not going to survive, that I'm not going to breathe. And therefore, it's a mirror image. These two condition us most, but very often they are morphed, they become diluted with various other aspects, and they get reflected in different shades of other emotion that we will touch upon later. At this point in time, I would like to stop. A couple of people who have said here they would like to come up here. Ramcharan, then somebody else. Who is this? Denisa. Okay. Yeah, these are the only two that I see at the moment with their hands raised. Yeah, if any of you have any questions at this point in time.
Yeah, not exactly a question, Ram, but I'm glad to hear this. As I listen more to what you're presenting here and what you're bringing across, you know, my original uncertainty because of the immensity of the topic is getting clarified. And, you know, I think to make this more accessible and make it more simple for people to understand, to bring it down to the relevance of questions like, how would you function in life if fear were not stopping you? It's such a crucial question in coaching, and what are those fears? So for coaching, leadership, and really, I think for anybody, to have an experiential understanding of what is life unfolding like without these fears that they seem to be hardwired into our body, our nervous system, our kind of karma here. That's, to me, a really exciting exploration. It opens up a lot of possibilities. So we've talked about the less functional aspects of particularly first and second chakra, and to see what happens when the blockages or dysfunctions are resolved to the degree that these can function in a positive way, that life is expressing itself more naturally through us. Okay. So that's my investigation here. That's my question.
Yeah.
Sorry, but you understand.
Yeah. Denisa, Devabrata, do you have any questions, or anybody else? Any other questions on these two issues? Yeah.
I am Denisa. Yeah. I agree with some of the things that I've heard, and I'm a bit challenged by some of the things which I heard as well. Especially because you mentioned that Jung spoke about a collective consciousness, and then there's this thing when you said that basically, I'll put it in my own words, there's no way for us to reach a state in which we have no thoughts, that we'll always have at least type of a one thought. Whereas in my practice, I'm practicing a meditation method as well, which actually refers a lot to Ramana Maharishi as well. And in this meditation, you achieve this state of collective consciousness, which Jung talks about, and you actually achieve this state of no thoughts. Because in what I know from all the definitions of meditation, the actual definition of meditation is basically the space that you have between the thoughts. And I've achieved.
Okay, Denisa, let me, because we don't have the time for too long questions and here. I get your point. Let me answer it very quickly. First of all, the definition of meditation is different. In the Yoga Sutra, the definition of meditation is meditation, dhyana, means focusing on one thought. It is not about between thoughts or the space between thoughts. There is a stage called the samadhi, which is a state after meditation, the 8th arm or the limb of yoga, which talks about witnessing thoughts, which is called the 4th state of awareness, or no mind. In Zen, it's called the satori. It is possible, but still, there is no state. For example, I don't want to denigrate what you're saying. This has been taught to me by many people. My guru has taught me sunya meditation, which means no thoughts. Oh, I know it was a wonderful experience. My question to them was, will you go back and ask your guru, how is it that you remember if you had no thoughts? Because if you have no thoughts, you will have no memories. So there is no way that you can have a no thought state. It doesn't exist. What exists is a disengagement from the thought, that you witness the thoughts. And that is what is called samadhi. I mean, we can go into a discussion on this. Unfortunately, I don't have the time for it today, but I'll be more than happy to engage in a discussion with you. And this is based on the principles of yoga, as in Ashtanga Yoga, Patanjali's Yoga Sutra, and also Ramana Maharishi's, the self-inquiry. Ramana Maharishi's self-inquiry is about the inquiry into continuously on who is the person who is having these thoughts. Okay,
Yeah.
so I would like to leave it here. And even in Vipassana, somebody has put down here in Vipassana, at the end of the day, it is about experiencing the mind and the body awareness and moving beyond that. So unfortunately, what happens is there are elements of these which need to be experienced, moving beyond that. And moving beyond the mind and body awareness into another state, which is beyond the mind and body awareness, it is not cognitive. It's very, very experiential. And,
Yes,
so, yeah. Debabrata, is there any question that you have? And sorry, I never said Jung talked about collective consciousness. What Jung talked about was collective unconsciousness. There's a huge difference. The collective unconsciousness that Jung talked about corresponds to the third level of awareness that yoga and tantra talk about, which is called the deep sleep, the deep unconscious state, which is where the seeds of thoughts grow. And many of Jung's theories are based on that. They are very, very powerful, no doubt about it. The collective consciousness, on the other hand, is the fourth state of awareness, where you move beyond that unconsciousness into a state of consciousness where it is about, it's about thoughts, it's about identity, but disengaging from them. You are no longer the actor, no longer the creator. Okay. But it's a huge topic. It's not something which we can possibly discuss in this short period of time. Debabrata, you have any questions?
Thank you, Ram. Not at this point.
Okay.
I would like you to continue, please.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, coming back to what you said, Ramcharan, and something that Vijay is asking now, in terms of conditioning and coaching, what in coaching we are trying to do is look at conditioning from a cognitive sense, sometimes maybe perhaps in an emotional sense, sometimes if you want to go deeper in a somatic sense. Let's say, where does it's easier probably to identify fear than desire, for example. Where does the fear reside? Like you asked, how do I get rid of the fear? In order for us to look at it from even a coaching perspective, we need to go far beyond the cognitive sense into a deeper sense of where it resides within us. So the first step, in a very, very simplistic way, would be to ask the client, I mean, straight away, if you ask the client, what are you afraid of? The client may not have an idea. Very often, it's perhaps worthwhile starting with, what is it that you're looking for and that you cannot get, that which is blocking you? And the discussion on that, the exploration into that will result in some understanding of what the fear, what the insecurities are. And that is one way of looking at it. And then once you have brought some idea of the fear out, what is it? Is it insecurity? Is it about the fear of failure? Is it about fear of success? Is it about something else which someone has experienced? Very often when I talk about some of these things, people come out and say, you know, I'm afraid. And so the very simple question, because of my chakra background, is to ask them, okay, could you experience that for a moment and tell me where you are feeling this feeling of being afraid? And typically from a chakra principle, if you are really afraid of something, it's a deep phobia, you will always experience it in your lower abdomen area. But if it is diluted, if it becomes more of a worry and anxiety, you will express it in your navel area. But very often they will point out to their chest and say, hey, this is what I'm experiencing. I'm experiencing this feeling in my chest. And I know from my own experience that the moment it is experienced in the chest area, the heart area, it is not about a fear, but it's about a relationship. It's about frustrations. It's about things that we are unable to get. It's about not getting enough attention, for example. So it's a much deeper, much subtler inquiry. At that point in time, then if we start exploring, you might be able to find out what really causes it. So it's not something as simple as my giving you a formula saying if it lies here, this is going to happen. It's a much deeper study. So the first thing, to going back to what you said, Ramcharan, I agree with you, that is there a simpler way of looking at it? A coaching approach is a good way of approaching it, because we are trying to get the client to first express what their desired outcomes are. And the desired outcome could be a good relationship, for example, or a good fulfillment, or it could be a material benefit, and so on and so forth. And from the current reality to where they wish to go, there is something that is blocking them from moving towards. And as we start exploring into it and trying to figure out what exactly is stopping them from getting there, is it about core beliefs? Is it about certain value systems that they are aspiring to, which their belief systems are not working with? Some of these things could throw up dissonances. And very often these dissonances are what create fear in us or worries in us. And once then we are able to convert it into a more somatic kind of experiences, we would have much better handle on understanding where these actually come from. It's a bit of a complex process. The advantage of doing that is at that point in time, once I know where it is, by working on those energy centers, if, for example, if that block is lying in the heart region, the approach to getting rid of that fear, overcoming that block, would be about reliving and relieving deeper emotions, negative emotions, which are connected to relationships, rather than one of, let's say, phobias, for example. So there would be a different methodology of how to approach that. So coming back to the energization process is, once we are able to identify what that emotion is it about greed? Is it about fear? Is it about anxiety, which lies in the navel region? Or is it about relationship, about needs for attention, being liked and disliked, which lies in the heart region? Or is it about jealousy, for example, envy, which is very much Maslow's fourth level of hierarchy in terms of cognitive needs, comparison, and so on? Or is it something beyond that in terms of a feeling of understanding all that, but still finding that I still do not have the ability to be able to go through with it, which lies in the third eye chakra? Or finally, to the discontent, which lies in the top chakra. Once we are able to identify what it is, then we probably could work on specific remedies, as it were, in terms of working on those energy centers, which is what the deconditioning process of reliving and relieving is about. In some senses, emotions, all our conditioning results from memories which we have experienced, which reside within us. The darker the memories, the more traumatic they are, the more unconscious they are. And most of these memories are stored as emotional memories. In a very simple way of comparison, these emotional memories, you can compare them to video files that are being stored in a computer. The more of those negative memories that you have, the heavier they are. Terabytes are much stronger than terabytes, whatever the word for that is. And basically, just like the way the computer would hang with multiple video files on the computer, your brain also would hang. And that's the reason why very often we are confused when we have tremendous trauma, like PTSD syndromes and so on and so forth. I'm going through a very, very simplistic explanation. of course, is much more complex than that. So one of the ways of overcoming that, and this is not just from our tantric philosophy, it is something which is, for example, those of you who are familiar with neuro-linguistic programming, you might have come across timeline therapy. In Gestalt, it is handled in a different way. You can go through a process of reliving those emotions and allowing those emotions to be diluted. They actually move away from being video files to text files, as it were. They become lighter. And therefore, your whole brain space, your mind space becomes much freer. You create a white space within yourself. So the whole object of the chakra energization process, which personally I have worked with thousands of people literally, is working at each of the chakra levels with different emotional memories that we possess and diluting them by having experienced them and relieving them. And that process allows us to cleanse ourselves, heal ourselves in a sense, based on which we can create an intent which we can then work towards. So again, I'll stop here. If those of you like Vijay have specific questions about how am I going to apply it in coaching, at this stage, you would find it very difficult unless you understand what the total energization process is. It's not a cognitive process. Exploring conditioning takes a person into the past. How does it sit well? It doesn't necessarily take you into the past as in a therapy. It allows you to reflect on the past in the present moment, which is what coaching does as well. And therefore, you can still consider it as compatible. But yes, I would certainly draw a line between working with this process, saying that it is coaching. I would say it's an adjunct to coaching. It would not be a typical coaching process. At some point in time, I'm sure, I think the coaching competencies will mature to be able to include these as well. But this is certainly not the kind of therapies that we talk about in psychodynamic or psychiatric terms. Are we not venturing into therapy? Yeah, the answer is the same. The boundaries are, I agree, a bit thin at this point in time. It is similar to the boundaries between mentoring and coaching as well. But you do not, for example, if it is a classical therapy, part of it is medical, part of it is based on somebody else's knowledge that is applied to you in terms of what you need to do, like a psychiatrist advising somebody and so on. Whereas here, it is primarily you doing it yourself. There is no external agency. All that you learn is a process by means of which you apply, you relive your own experiences and you relieve them. To that extent, you don't have an external agency which is working upon you. Okay. What fear manifests at the throat chakra is, it's not fear. The emotion that manifests itself at the throat chakra is primarily envy and jealousy. It's about competition rather than collaboration. So these are some of the basic explanations of the chakra energization process. So any question on, I think, Steve, you are there here. If you would like to come up and ask the question that you pose, and then I can spend the next about 5 minutes on that, if you like. Where are you? I lost Steve. Okay. Yeah. You asked a question on earlier today, or you don't have any questions yet. Okay. Because the question that you posed about the fourth state of awareness from the Mandukya Upanishad was something which Denisa earlier sort of referred to. The first level of awareness is what today we call mindfulness. It's a mind and the body awareness. It's very much a sensory awareness. The second level of awareness is more at the subtle body level, which is in the tantric tradition, it's called the pranic level of awareness, which is somewhat akin to the unconscious mind, subconscious mind of the Freudian Jungian concepts. The third level of awareness is the deep unconscious, which can compare with the collective unconsciousness state of Jung. And the last state of unconsciousness, last state of awareness in the Mandukya Upanishad is about the mindlessness or the no mind, where it's purely about disengaging from thoughts, witnessing thoughts, looking at them as if they are not your own. You are detached from those thoughts. As a result, you are able to look at them totally, very, very objectively without getting involved, without any obsession to the fears or obsession to the desires or phobias to the fears. Let me stop here. At this point in time, I know that this is a lot to digest at this point in time, but if still there are any questions on this, please. Ramcharan, you have anything at this point in time to add or amplify?
Yeah, well, I did post a question to you. Maybe you don't see it, but it's really about the, again, coming back to what is the effect of this process when people move out of or clear out the difficult, dysfunctional patterns or energy blockages in the chakras. How do you find that changes their relationship to life and their understanding of who they are, what their goals are? Okay. Yeah, I'm curious about what you can say about that.
Yeah. Okay. And somebody else has asked a question about, would it require a control environment? The answer is no. It is to the extent that you can manage yourself. That's what is important. And any meditative process, that is what is key. But coming back to the point that Ramcharan, that you asked about is, so each of these chakras has a shadow side and the bright side, as it were. For example, in the case of the Muladhara chakra, it's about wants and needs, greed and fulfillment in a sense. And the second one, it's about the fear. And fear usually, very often we try to distract ourselves from fear, run away from fear. It doesn't help. The only way to overcome fear is to face the fear. And that is what gives us the courage to move forward, to understand what is causing us the fear. And usually it's some form of a desire, some form of a want, which causes the desire. So in each of these states, by the simple process of chakra energization starts with first our recapping the kind of, let's say, for example, unfulfilled desires that we have, the greed that we have, maybe to list them down, for instance. This is one of the exercises that usually I get people to work on. Similarly, about the various fears that we have. And then we have a process of reflecting upon them or meditating upon them. And in that process, actually experience those what people have written down. Like when I did it myself, I wrote down what are the things that I'm still obsessing about, and go into a state of meditation and reflection and experience each of those unfulfilled desires. In a way, fulfilling them within my mind, as it were, or arriving at a level where I find it's no longer relevance to me by having reflected upon it. So it sounds strange, but what happens is they completely disappear from the memory. At the end of that meditation, you will find that it's what you are facing is a total empty space. And similarly, you work with fears and you overcome them. And similarly, you work with each of the other emotive centers, be it about anxiety and worries, or it is about needs of wanted attention, or envy and jealousy. So it's almost as if that in each of these cases, you list your experiences at this point in time, in your current reality, what are the issues that you are facing for yourself? And these are the conditioning blocks that you have. These are your limiting beliefs or limiting experiences, limiting memories, which actually stop you from reaching where you want to. So what the chakra energization process does is for you to be able to compartmentalize each of these into specific emotions, specific memories associated with specific emotions. And the process is for you to reflect and create awareness within yourself as to why they are there. And when you start looking at them in that sense, most often all the negativity disappears, because the true nature of ourselves is one of fulfillment. we are not looking for unfulfillment as a goal. Internally, we are always looking for fulfillment as a goal. And that is what drives us. I mean, for many of us, for me, when I started with it, it seemed strange. But having gone through this process, having worked with literally thousands of people, I just want you to sort of, there's a particular quote that John Whitmore came up with in one of the interviews that I listened to him. And I do know, I met Timothy Galway, who worked with John Whitmore, and Timothy Galway and John Whitmore both had Indian mystics as their gurus at various points of their lives. And what John Whitmore said was that when I have worked with people, when I've coached literally thousands of people, they all always start with material goals and material fears. And as I work with them over a period of time in coaching, their material goals recede to the background and their fears recede to the background. And what comes up for them is how they can be useful to society, how they can be more transformational. And then there is no fear. There is only that need for them to be far more useful to themselves and to the rest of society. It was an amazing statement coming from a person of Western origin who is considered to be pretty much legend, one of the fathers of coaching. And this, if you go through YouTube, there's a particular interview that he has given in which this actually he has stated. So in a way, it goes back to the process that we are talking about. How these different stages of awareness is related to 7 stages of psychological development, I have no idea. I don't know what the 7 stages of psychological development are. There are so many different versions of these, I'm not quite sure. They may not be at all related. The awareness is not 7 stages, first of all. Awareness is only 4 stages. And the 7 chakras are completely different. They are not necessarily related to the 4 stages of awareness. These are 7 fundamental emotions, which are the first 2 are the primal emotions of greed and fear. The other 5 are, let's say, diluted versions of it in slightly different ways. So I'm not quite sure in what ways. If you're looking at, for example, dependence, interdependence, or whatever, independence, and so on and so forth, those models of development, I don't think these are necessarily directly related. Okay. So any other questions at this point in time? So if, I mean, Steve, Ramcharan, Dennis, any of you who are up there, if you have any questions at this point in time that I can. Otherwise, what I would like to take you through, if you're all interested in it, is a process of what I would call an O-mind meditation, which goes through various elements of, and unfortunately, it's highly compressed within the time space that we have, maximum of about 30 minutes. But it would take you through stages of breath awareness, body awareness, and into the next stage, which is about the witnessing awareness part. If you're all okay with it, we can go through with it. Otherwise, we can answer some more questions for the next 15 minutes and move away from the meditation, whichever you choose, whatever the general consensus is. I don't have a name for the meditation. Actually, I have. It's a combination of Vipassana and Yoga Nidra. But it's not pure Yoga Nidra or it's not pure Vipassana. It is what I would call a 4th state of awareness meditation, which is taking you beyond the stage of dhyana, which is focusing on one thought, into a space which is more of witnessing, which is called the samadhi state. Yeah. Okay, if all of you are ready, let me, it's a pure and simple guided meditation. So just listen to me and follow instructions as it were. As I said, I would not be, I really would not like to go on to a discussion after that. So if we had a break of about 20 minutes and after that we come back and discuss, that would have been a different issue, but here we don't have that privilege. So I'll just go through the meditative process, and please note down if there are any thoughts. Feel free to come back to me, email me, or we could discuss it in the next session, whichever way you would like it. So now, okay, if all of you are ready, just follow my instructions. If you're all sitting in a chair, wherever you are sitting, I presume you are sitting in a chair or something of similar kind. Usually the ideal way of doing it is lying down, but I wouldn't like to do that now. It takes a little bit of preparation and effort. So if you're sitting in a chair, I would request you to do this. Relax completely, lean back into your chair, rest your back comfortably, especially your lower back. But sit in a way that the top of your head, your neck, and your lower back are in one line, that you're not either slouched backwards or forward to the extent possible. Rest your hands gently on your thighs or the arm seats, whichever is more comfortable. And bring the first 3 fingers of both hands together, each hand independently like this. This is a kinesthetic anchor. This is not any kind of a mudra. It doesn't have any other significance. At the end of the process, it allows you kinesthetically to come back to the state next time when you go through this particular meditative process. So please, with your feet firmly planted on the floor, with your hands, arms resting lightly on your lap or on the arm rests of your chair, with your first 3 fingers of each of the hands put together like this, closed to form a kinesthetic anchor. Please close your eyes. With your eyes closed, with your feet firmly on the floor, with your hands resting lightly on your lap, with the first 3 fingers coming together in a circle. Breathe deeply. Inhale deeply, as deep as you can from below your navel, as deep as you can from your abdomen, and exhale completely. Inhale deeply and exhale completely. Go through this process of deep inhalation and complete exhalation for about 10 cycles. Inhale deeply. Exhale completely. Inhale deeply. Exhale completely. Inhale deeply. Exhale completely. As you keep inhaling and exhaling, go deeper and deeper into awareness, into relaxed awareness. As you inhale deeply and exhale completely, with your feet firmly placed on the floor, with your hands resting lightly on your lap or the seat of your armrests, with the 3 fingers of each of your hands coming together in a circle. Relax, relax, relax into awareness. Inhale deeply, exhale completely. Now introduce one step in between the inhalation and exhalation. After you have inhaled deeply, hold the inhaled breath for a few moments, for as long as you are comfortable. Then exhale completely. At the end of exhalation, hold your breath for as long as you are comfortable. Then inhale. So now the cycle is at your own rhythm and frequency. Inhale deeply, as deep as you can, and hold the inhaled breath for as long as you are comfortable. Exhale completely and hold the exhale breath for as long as you can. Inhale again. Follow the sequence of inhaling, holding, exhaling, and holding. As you inhale, visualize that you're inhaling the energy of the universe, refreshing, rejuvenating, recreating, relieving. And as you hold your breath after the inhalation, allow that energy to move into every pore of your body, from the top of your head to the tips of your toes to the tips of your fingers, filling every pore of your body with energy. And as you exhale, allow yourself to expand and expand and expand beyond your mind and body. You are far more than your mind and body. And as you hold your breath after exhalation, you are one with the universal energy of which you are part. Integrally, you are now part of the universal energy. Inhale deeply. Allow that universal energy to come into you, recreate you, rejuvenate you, refresh you. And as you hold your breath, allow that energy to move into every pore of your body, energizing you. And as you exhale, allow yourself to expand beyond your mind and body. And as you hold your breath after the exhalation, you are the mind and the body of the universal energy. You have moved out of your mind and body into that of the universal energy. You are one with that cosmic energy. Experience that energy state with each cycle of breath that you take. Inhaling, holding, exhaling, and holding. In the space when you hold your breath, you have no thoughts. You are just a witnesser of thoughts. And you are moving away from the mind and body awareness into the space of energy awareness, or one with the universal energy. Inhale deeply. Hold your breath for as long as you can. Exhale deeply. Hold your breath as long as you can, and inhale deeply. With your feet firmly planted on the floor, with your arms resting lightly on your lap or on the seat of your armrest, with your first three fingers coming together in a circle, with your eyes closed. As you are inhaling, holding your breath, exhaling and holding your breath, you are moving deeper and deeper into the space of mindless awareness. Witnessing of the thoughts that are going on, if at all there are any thoughts. Just as if you are watching the clouds in the sky. Slowly shift your attention from your breath to the top of your head, the crown of your head, the Sahasrara chakra. As you place your attention on the top of your head, just try to observe any energy manifestation that you might notice, as if your skin is crawling, or the blood is pounding, or any kind of a feeling whatsoever that you might feel on your skull. Just notice and observe. Do not be involved. If you do not notice anything or observe anything, that is fine too. Just observe. Become aware of the top of your head, the crown of your head. Slowly and gently, allow your attention to come to your forehead, the point between your eyebrows, the third eye point, and observe whether there is any energy manifestation at this point. A pulsation, a pounding, or a movement of the skin, anything that you might notice. Just observe without being involved. Become aware of this point, the Agnya chakra. Slowly and steadily, move your attention to the throat area, the Vishuddhi chakra. Again, observe if you feel anything at this point, a throbbing, a pulsation, a pounding. If you do not notice anything, if you do not observe anything, that's fine too. Just place your awareness at this point and observe it. Over time, with experience, you will start experiencing the energy manifestations. Slowly, gently move your attention to your heart space. Try and observe if you feel anything in your heart space. The beat of the heart, a pulsation, anything at all that you might feel. And if you do not feel anything, that is fine too. Just observe, do not get involved. This is Anahata, the center of relationships. Slowly and gently move your attention to your navel area, the solar plexus or navel area. And observe any energy manifestation that might happen there. There could be a churning, there could be a pounding, there could be a throbbing. Whatever you notice, just observe. If you do not observe anything, that's fine too. Slowly and gently move down to your lower abdomen area, the Svadhisthana chakra, the seat of your primal fears as well as courage, and just observe any energy manifestation at that point, a tightening of the skin, a pulsation, a throbbing, whatever you might feel at that point. And if you do not feel anything, that's fine too. Just observe. Slowly and gently move your attention down to the root chakra, the Muladhara, the seat of your Kundalini. And of all your desires, positive needs and wants. And experience and observe any energy manifestation at that point. Could be a throbbing, it could be a movement, whatever happens at that point, observe without getting involved. If you do not notice anything, that is fine too. As you are observing and you are aware of the Muladhara chakra, visualize at that point a beautiful ball of light, your inner energy that is emerging from this point. Create in your mind space this imagery of a beautiful, bright, vibrant ball of energy of any color that you choose. Pulsing from this point, radiating energy, visible to you as you see it in your mind's eye. Allow it to grow bigger and bigger and radiate more and more powerfully, warmly, joyously. Slowly allow that to move up to your lower abdomen, the Swadhisthana area, and grow bigger and bigger, covering both your root chakra, Muladhara area, and your lower abdomen area, becoming bigger and bigger. Eliminating all your fears and phobias. And visualize that now moving up to your solar plexus, navel area, expanding in size, radiating very powerfully, engulfing the bottom 3 chakras of your body, brightly radiating powerfully. Allow it to move up to your heart center, the Anahata, joyously spreading love to everyone around you, glowing, bright ball of energy, radiating powerfully. Allow that to move to your throat center, the Vishuddhi, linking you to the entire universe powerfully, growing bigger and bigger. Visualize yourself almost floating on this beautiful ball of energy that is now engulfing most of your body. As you move your attention to the third eye, the Ajna chakra, where it reaches that point, you start feeling the power of this beautiful energy that is spreading from every part of your body, from the root chakra right up to the Ajna chakra, around you, becoming bigger and bigger. And now moving up to the top of your head, the Sahasrara, making you feel fulfilled, completely contented and satisfied with the brightness of energy, the energy awareness that you have, engulfing you as a beautiful radiating energy. Just stay in that space of this beautiful energy of your chakras, dissolving all the negativities that they may have been within you, converting them into this positive energy that is radiating out from you powerfully, very, very powerfully, very, very powerfully. Slowly, gently, with this beautiful light still radiating from you, all around you, as if it is carrying you, you are floating with this energy, becoming bigger and bigger, expanding, expanding. Bring your attention to your heart center, the Anahata chakra. And with your attention on your Anahata chakra, just stay in pure observance of this energy, with no other thoughts within you. Feeling blissful, fulfilled, accepting, fill yourself with gratitude for the energy that surrounds you, for the energy that you are. Accept, express gratitude, and surrender to this energy which is your own, in complete fulfillment. As you feel yourself surrounded and floating in this beautiful ball of light energy. As you are in this space of this fulfilling energy, whatever intent that you may have, that would fulfill you, your needs, and the needs of others around you will manifest itself. This is a space of the ultimate attraction of the power of the universe that will enable you to manifest whatever selfless desire, whatever mindless desire, whatever aware desire that you have. That would be of value to you and to others. If you have any such intent, bring it up at this moment. And offer it with gratitude to the universe. And it'll be fulfilled. Slowly, steadily, gently. Open your eyes whenever you are ready. At your own level of acceptance, and whenever you would like to open your eyes. And spend next few minutes in complete silence with yourself in a reflective mode. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.